Welcome, everybody. This is Coffee with a Founder, not Coffee with a Journalist, which is another podcast I do. Coffee with a Founder, where we talk with real, actual founders who are raising lots of money and solving big problems in the world. Hopefully, that's the aim. I'm Beck Bamberger. I've been doing this a damn while with a lot of founders, like Brett, who's with us today. Levenson, right? Did I get this right? Right?
You got it.
Brett Levenson, who is the CEO, co-founder of Clavata AI. Doing a lot of stuff in security, plus the intersection of AI. So we are here to chat with you today, Brett. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Beck. It's nice to be here.
It is nice to be here. Okay, Brett, where do you even want to start? Because you are raising right now. You've had a lot of great customers. You are in the flurry of this AI space. You did start in 2023, correct? Clavata.
Yeah. Well, yes. End of 2023 is when we officially got started. I would say I think we really got started at the first week of January 2024 when my co-founder agreed. How I convinced him to leave Apple and come join me is unclear, but
wait, can we go into that for a second? So how did you, what was the convo? What was the situation? What was the final rose?
I mean, so Ash, my co-founder, and I had worked together at Apple Special Projects for years.
Okay.
And he and I are like oil and water, but kind of in the best way. I actually don't know if that's true. We're both pretty strong-willed, and I think some of that strong-willed, willingness to have a confrontation. I just had seen that when we were at Apple, we did such amazing work together as a result. And so when I was thinking about starting Clavata, and I'm kind of happy to get into the origin story if you want, I didn't want to do it myself, or alone, I guess I should say. I knew I would need someone, and Ash seemed like the perfect fit. Problem is, he had been at Apple for about 8 years. I think
pretty cush over there, I'm sure.
What?
Pretty cush over there, I'm sure.
Yeah, very good. I mean, hey, leave your 7-figure job and come join me at a startup where we're going to make nothing, we're going to work all the time, and we're going to have no resources. It's going to be fun. You'll see.
It'll be so fun. Yes.
I think actually, I joke that I don't know how I got him to join, but I actually do know.
I think Brett, tell us. And then you could send him this afterwards and see if he agrees.
Yeah, it ultimately was the mission, I think. Our sort of core mission is to build the safety layer, the security layer that's ultimately needed for AI. That's been our sort of supposition. I'm not going to say from day one, but basically from day one. And I think as he and I sort of talked through it, I know he many times referenced his kids, and I know that that's been a driving factor for him, that he sees, I think, what the internet is like, some of the concerns of a parent that, you have to have about your kids and the internet.
Yeah.
And I know that for him, being part of a company that is sort of actively trying to get ahead of the next wave of terrible, was the next dumpster fire, we like to say that the rocket fuel that's being poured on the dumpster fire, that is the internet. So I think.
So wait, was it, what was his name again, by the way?
Ash Bhardwaj.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Ash. Do you want to get ahead of the next wave of terrible? Okay. You leave your 7-figure job. You're going to make nothing for a while. It'll be really fun. You're going to work with me, who's like your oil to my water. Okay. But your kids will be safe. So want to do this?
I mean, it was more than that, of course.
Well, of course, but I'm just, that's the pitch.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I think some of it is he and I both just wanted to work together again. And I know that was part of it, is we had done such sort of remarkable things at Apple together, things I can't talk about, but that I think I would willingly admit that I've done probably some of the best work of my life with Ash, and I think he would probably say the same. So I think.
Okay. Can we get into that a little bit, which is a bigger why that I do not hear people talk about, which is when you find the people you jive with so well, and it is so fun to work with them, and we all spend a lot of time working. That is a life type of experience that is hard to. It's unique. It is so rewarding, and this is why you see people come back together and do like the third company together again, because they know that and they find that. That was a big pull for him, it sounds like. And you both knew
I mean,
it?
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but
No, of course not.
I would think so. It certainly was a pull for me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is that for me, like I also had a very cushy job at Meta.
Yeah, you did too. Yes.
And even when I decided I was, fed up with Meta and wanted to move on, I still could have had a very cushy job. Like till the day we started, there were offers, and I was sort of like, I don't know what to do here. And I know that for me, at least, getting to work with Ash again, and kind of not just getting to work with him, but putting kind of the partnership that we had built at Apple to use in a place where it was just us, and we were going to make the decisions and run things kind of the way we wanted to run things, and work on something I think we both feel is really important. I think, at least for me, that was a big piece of it. And I will openly say that if Ash had not agreed to join, I don't know if I would have started the company. Like, maybe I would have found someone else to do it with. Maybe I would have done an EIR thing for a year and figure it out. Like, I don't know, but I don't know that I would have dove in head first with such confidence, knowing like I have this partner. I know exactly where his strengths are. I know he's going to be a good fit.
Tried and tested.
Yeah. And I know that largely that he's going to take care of all the shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
That's fine.
All the crap that I just don't want to deal with. It was definitely part of the motivation for me. I would imagine it was part of it for him as well.
Oh yeah. Shoot, I should start having co-founders on here so that they can kind of match the story and see what else. By the way,
Ash would be blushing, and he would be like,
no, not me. Very coy. You don't hear it too often like this. Hey, it's got to be with you, or I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
or I don't want to do it.
To me, like starting a company, and it's not like I hadn't thought about doing this for years. I was very early at a startup when I was very young, at the very beginning of my career. And so I knew what would have to go into it, right? And Amplify, our investors, I've known the guys there for a decade, basically, and I've been quite close with them. And, they had sort of been pushing me for 5, 6, 7 years, start a company, come start a company here. And I just, I kept saying it's not the right time for a number of reasons, but I think the biggest one is one, you got to have something you're willing to not sleep for. You got to have something you're willing to not see your spouse for, at least in my case, my spouse.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, you like your spouse, but for me, I happen to. So, you got to be willing to kind of give that up.
Yes.
And I think you're going to spend so much time working that, at least to me, having the right partner to me is sort of key. And I know sometimes people are just they're looking for a co-founder, and they meet somebody and they go, oh, okay, this seems like a good person. But to me, it's like a marriage.
Oh, it is it is worse than a marriage, I'd say. Worse, quote unquote, because it's no, you're going to spend even more time together, and have even more tough questions and conversations, probably. So yeah.
And I think one thing I knew working with Ash is, he and I are sort of unique in that together we are able to sort of have some pretty intense confrontations and debates, but not have it affect our personal relationship. And that's how it's always been with him. And so I knew that we would be able to argue, we would be able to strongly disagree, but kind of just once we reached a resolution, just have that be it, and not have it be this festering, lingering thing. And that was really important to me because I just know, it's never going to be completely smooth sailing. And I think having someone in your corner who, you're going to work well with, and ultimately, no matter what in the same way people say about marriages, right? Like it's not all going to be good. So you got to be with somebody who, you're going to be able to survive the downs with, or hopefully somebody who I'm getting into therapist mode now, but hopefully somebody who like you don't just survive the downs with, but where, the downs are better ultimately because you're with them. And I think to me, like I said, to me, running a startup with a partner is a bit like a marriage in that regard. And I think there are always going to be downs. And I think to me, I want somebody who, is going to be confident and optimistic when I'm not, and vice versa.
I can ride the downs with you.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, did you have your spouses meet?
Yes, they know each other, of course.
Oh, okay. Okay. So there was already buy-in from them. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
How much buy-in, by the way?
Well, I'm not going to speak explicitly for Ash, but I know what I know is that Ash had a conversation with his wife, Monica, basically right when he was, when we knew it was real. And, we knew we were going to go do sort of a formal meeting with Amplify to discuss funding. I know he had a meeting with her because he was basically saying, hey, I'm going to leave my job at Apple and go do this. But I think he and I both benefit from having wives who are themselves, very serious people with serious careers.
Yeah.
And so, Monica was a top tier consultant for years. And I think, to her, it was sort of like, you're going to probably get one shot to do something like this. So go do it.
Oh, how awesome is that?
Yes. My wife, similarly, I mean, my wife was a creative director at probably some of the best ad agencies in the world. She actually now runs a company of her own. So she and I are completely insane because both of us run companies and we don't see each other. But
sometimes we're in building mode. Yes.
I do think having a spouse who I think is not just saying, okay, fine, but you should go do this. I mean, speaking for myself, like there have been hard moments, and Sydney is my wife, and it's taken her to remind me, hey, you decided to do this for good reasons. Like it wasn't just, hey, I could go take a gushy job or I could run a company, and like they're flip a coin. Like she has had to remind me at times, like, hey, you had good reasons for wanting to do this. And
don't you remember them? Let me tell you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think to me I think it's important anyway to have your family behind you.
I love this, of just the depth of what we've gone to in this. How long, by the way, was this decision over time? The courting phase.
Too long.
Too long.
I mean, I think if I recall correctly, it's been a while. I left Meta. I left Meta midsummer, but I kind of knew I was going to leave probably a few months before that. And I basically knew, I knew before I left. Like Clavata has kind of been something that's been cooking since I would say 2022, basically.
Oh, okay.
I had first reached out to Lenny at Amplify in sometime in 2022 during the pandemic, kind of just to say, hey, what do you think about a third party doing basically what I had been doing at Meta?
Yeah.
He kind of said, hey, come by, we'll write you a check tomorrow. Let's do it. And I, at the time, was like, hey, whoa, hold on, hold your horses. It's the middle of the pandemic. I just know that I see that I see an opportunity here. I don't exactly know how I'm going to do this better yet, but I think there is a way to do it better if it's your, let's say, core competency and not, a division of a much, much larger company with many other competing priorities. So, it took a while to kind of, first of all, for the pieces to come together in my head of like, okay, what is the differentiator? What is the strategic advantage here? And then even once I left, as I said, like the second I left, I was a distinguished engineer at Meta. Like I I'm very senior, and I don't like saying stuff like this, but I guess I'm sought after to some degree.
Brett, okay, you're what the VCs want to back. That's what
Yeah,
it is.
sure.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, as soon as I left Meta, and indicated that I was no longer at Meta, I was getting reach outs for other roles. Some of them very interesting. One in self-driving that I thought was fascinating, and was something that I personally, among the big problems in the world that I think are worth solving, like self-driving to me is actually one of them, given how many people die in motor vehicle accidents every year.
Oh, completely.
The congestion and the environmental impacts of having so many vehicles on the road. Like, there's just a lot of good reasons to try to solve that problem. So, to me, that was certainly interesting. And so it took, even though I knew that like this was kind of what I wanted to do, I think it took a few months from like midsummer to basically late October.
You're getting lots of pings, Brett. You're busy. He's busy.
Sorry, let me turn.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
I've never heard of this busy on one of these.
My world is a little crazy.
We're also Tuesday after Memorial Day. Like we are in the middle of the day recording this, so we didn't pick too well, but there we are.
Yeah.
We're busy and booked.
So yeah, I mean, it definitely took me a few months of wringing my hands and one day deciding, nah, you know what, I'm gonna take a job somewhere else, and the next day going, but I think I knew all along I was going to end up making this decision, but I needed to torture myself for a few months, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Yeah.
And like I said, I think it was my wife ultimately who just kind of was like, stop this. It's time for you to just do what we all know you're going to end up doing here. And like I said, having Ash kind of commit was one of the final pieces of the puzzle that made it easy to say, okay, let's go do this.
So you're bobbing around for months. Are you talking with him at that time? Like, are you guys chit-chatting about it, or?
Yeah, I mean, he and I started talking. Yeah. I mean, he and I obviously were friends, so we talked on and off through the pandemic, and to the extent anyone really kept in touch during that period of time. But yeah, I mean, he and I kind of started talking about doing this together like end of the summer in 2023, I would say. And I think I was actually surprised. I think I initially posed it as a joke. He was asking me what I was up to, and I was like, I'm thinking about starting a company. And he's like, doing what? And I sort of explained what I was doing at Meta and what I'm thinking about. And sort of offhandedly, I was like, you should leave Apple and come join me. And I thought I was kidding. I didn't think there was really any realistic possibility that he would do that. And he was like, that's interesting. I mean, maybe. And I was like, okay, you want to come up here, hang out in the backyard and chat about it next week or something? And, like, I think a week or two later, we were sitting in my backyard. We had this hysterical stack of, white pieces of printer paper where we sort of like sketched it. I hope we still have it somewhere. I think I have it in a file folder somewhere of just like hand sketches of like, what would the architecture look like? And, what is the product? And it would be probably pretty funny to go back and look at it.
Oh, you should.
Given
put that in your pitch deck for your next fundraising here. Yeah.
So I mean, that was
I love this little deep dive. This is so good. Okay, Brett, because we don't have 3.5 hours here, unfortunately. What recently became clear?
Well, I think for me, and I don't know how many founders would admit this, maybe all of them. I honestly don't talk to that many founders, to be honest. But I think for me, what recently became clear is that we're on to something. Like, I think I felt from the beginning, like what we were building was important, necessary, certainly something I wanted to see succeed. I think just in the last couple months, I've been saying, like, I see the path finally. Like, I can finally see the path to, like, where does the revenue come from? Where does the sort of, what are the differentiators? What are the real differentiators? What is the path to becoming a very big, very successful company? And I think it's only recently kind of come into focus. Like, it was sort of like this very blurry image previously that I think, is just sort of like, well, maybe it's there, maybe it's there.
Yeah.
Sort of like Where's Waldo, if Where's Waldo was a completely blurry photograph. Maybe that's Waldo. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm dating myself with that reference. But,
No, I get it. I loved Where's Waldo. I had all the books. I had all the books, Brett.
But I think just in the last little while, it's definitely become much more clear, kind of, what is our core advantage? What is the key thing that we're offering that no one else can offer? And I think, within that, it's become clear that like we are, maybe without really meaning to, like we are skating where the puck is going, so to speak.
Yeah. Ooh.
So I think,
That's powerful.
Well, it's certainly what you want to be doing.
That's right.
Wayne Gretzky, anyway. So yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely become clear as of late. That we're on to something here, and
that's a good feeling.
Our customers see it. The people we have in our pipeline see it, and I think largely what we're talking about a lot right now is just our challenge right now is not so much about finding product market fit. It's really about I'm a machine learning, I'm a ML researcher, and my expertise is reinforcement learning. So to me, it feels a lot like multi-armed bandits. It's like we have figured out what's working, and now we need to go exploit what's working for as much as possible at with as much velocity as we possibly can. And I think that's different from maybe how it was 4 or 5 months ago, where we were doing a little bit of fishing, trying to figure out who's going to buy this, why would they buy it, et cetera. Now that we've sort of honed in on like who's going to buy it and why, now I think the next year for us is really just about actually hiring a salesperson, hiring a marketing team, actually going and selling this thing aggressively.
Yes, as quickly as possible.
Match our ICP basically.
Yep.
So yeah.
Brett, let's end it there. That was great. This is a good little juicy thing. Brett, CEO, co-founder, by the way, Levenson, of Clavata. That was a wonderful how I met my co-founder, or how I / convinced my co-founder to be with me because there's no one else I'd rather do this with story. And I really appreciate that. This is such a great one. And how much the partners had input in that. I think that's another thing to mention and include. It is more than a marriage at times. So, wow, kudos to you guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we got a little lucky.
You're talking. Of course you are. Of course.
But yeah, I mean, anyone who's thinking of starting a company, I would say make sure you're doing it with the right person. It is not always going to be easy.
It's not.
Anyway.
Well, Brett, thank you so much. Thanks for joining here today. Coffee with the Founder. Chat soon.
Talk soon.